my, good gravy. I almost fell backward into the Christmas tree. What's up, y'all? My name is Evan Strong, the founder of In The Image Clothing Company. Today is the 12th of December, 2025. This is In The Image Clothing Company Podcast, episode 191. The title of this episode is Emotionally Stunted. Welcome. I yell when I yell. That's the point, is emotionally stunted is the opposite of how I often am so loud. This is Little Red, the guitar, keyboard on the 6th fret. +1, it's actually the 7th fret. Keyboard on the 7th fret, 2nd fret, no 7th fret. 5 plus 2 is 7. Anyway, what's up, y'all? This is the side of In The Image Clothing Company where we do what we do on this side, and what we do on this side is discuss the gospel of Jesus Christ. This is 1/4 of In The Image Clothing Company as a whole, In The Image Clothing Company podcast. The gospel of Jesus Christ is just the truth of all things. The point with saying that is that it's the case, because we're all human beings placed on the same earth. We all have one God. We're designed in His image. Jesus Christ is God. That's actually an episode title of In The Image Clothing Company podcast as well. But don't believe me. Don't believe Evan Strong is my name. Don't believe In The Image Clothing Company, which is the company that I have founded here and I am in for life. But, you know, life's just what it is. We just discuss it as it is. Emotionally stunted. We'll talk about each of the other 3 sides of In The Image Clothing Company if and where we do within here, and probably quite a bit because of what this title is especially what that would mean for allowing the body to work on the main side of In The Image Clothing Company, our slogan, and letting dogs stay natural on In The Image Clothing Company Poodles. That's our slogan there. Emotionally stunted, that just kind of, makes sense, talking about the emotions of human beings and dogs. Our information on letting dogs stay natural applies to all dogs, except anything that is very poodle specific. We specialize in purebred standard poodles on In The Image Clothing Company Poodles. But where this title really comes from, emotionally stunted. There's an episode title of In The Image Clothing Company podcast, and what it is titled is The Physical Substance Dependence Story. When I used to be on mental health medication because they thought I was crazy, and now I know that I am. Anyway, I was on mental health medication for like 6 years, and it was rough. My body, regardless of me, out of any kind of decision of mine, my body physically built up a dependence to it. You're putting chemicals into your body, and it starts to rely on those chemicals, and it doesn't really know how to work without those things, regardless of if you want to take them or not. It's not a dependence out of a behavioral thing, like you choosing to, or wanting to, or craving. That's more of a addiction. And that happens in times as well. But there is a big difference between a dependence, physically, like the body itself depending on something, like how our bodies physically depend on nutrients and eating food. Naturally, the goal on all 4 sides of In The Image Clothing Company is natural, okay? Natural, neutral, and normal are synonyms within the functioning of the bodies of dogs or human beings, right? Just animals, really, in general. Neutral to all the joints of the body. Naturally, that's how it would work, and it would just normally do that if we didn't live in this man-made world placed onto God's natural earth. Okay, we just discuss it. On the main side of In The Image Clothing Company, there's a center line to the body. The sternum, the spine, the trachea, the nose, and our jaw. The jaw naturally stabilizes the entire body. We put a lot of focus and importance on the jaw. as in the Image Clothing Company. Okay, feet down at our foundation on Earth's gravity. A lot of what we have to do as human beings is just deal with Earth's gravity's pull. Our feet oppose the center line, gripping arches inward, and that's how we stay vertical. Okay, and just stand up. On Earth. So, we talk about clothing. Clothing has to stay centered, fit correct, where we discuss clothing sits for everybody on this universal human design, and be made in all the ways that we can from 100% natural materials. There's only natural things. There's synthetic and artificial things nowadays, but those are just synonyms with fake, unnatural, not real, made by mankind, and a lot of these things are only decades old as of today's date. A lot of these things are really a big reason why In the Image Clothing Company is needed, actually. Because what we really do is get out of chronic patterning and scar tissue that gets built up in the body through oversized clothing, imbalances in clothing, ropes introduced to the body like shoelaces, drawstrings, or anything like this, rope-wise, around the waist, around any part of the body at all, okay? And just living in this modern man-made right-handed world, it just is what it is. We get into patterning, and we get out of it under In the Image Clothing Company, and then we'll never be the same in a good way. Never Be the Same is an episode title of In the Image Clothing Company podcast, okay? But yeah, on the main side of In the Image Clothing Company, we discuss the anatomy of the human body in depth. We give free modifications in clothing. We'll always have good clothing to allow the body to work. And that's a lot of what happens there, okay? But here's the big point. That's the big point. The big point is physical dependence. The body physically depends on, well, this isn't about physical dependence, other than referencing, my body was physically dependent on medication for a while that I never wanted to be on, but I just wanted to feel okay. And who doesn't? Well, we're supposed to not really feel okay, actually. That's why we have to rely on God, Jesus Christ himself. Okay, but I didn't really know what I was doing at times in my life, as we don't, okay? We don't know what we don't know. We can't be held accountable for what we don't know, but then we learn things and improve our understandings of life. Okay, that's great. Truly, because I used to be physically dependent on substances that were prescribed to me, okay, by a psychologist who was really actually a psychiatrist as well, okay? Anyway, yeah, so the body depends on food. It depends on water. It depends on a certain amount of things. Man, this is a big episode. This is going to be cool. I'm excited for this, actually. Very excited, because this is very deep. This is huge. This is massive. This is so large. This is really big, seriously, because I was physically dependent on medication. And it was rough. I went through withdrawals, and I went through a lot of crazy side effects, symptoms, and I was living in hell. True, actual, literal hell, not metaphorically. Okay, hell is here, so is heaven. Wow. Welcome. Where do you want to go? Anywhere you go, there you are. Anyway. So the point is, a lot of that stuff, plus whatever else we discuss in here, because this is a very big topic. There's a lot to this, The title, Emotionally Stunted. What my psychiatrist would tell me, at times, when he'd be like diagnosing me out of, just such a, it's just ridiculous. I mean, I'm not trying to talk bad about anybody, but I'll talk down on medication all the time. And there's times and places for everything, if and where there are. Okay, and I get that. But the reason oh my gosh. All right, let's really talk about this. I'm talking about it. I'm not avoiding anything. I just feel like, I don't know, it's so big. It's crazy to even say these things. Yeah, my psychiatrist, after I'd take certain medications and he'd try to see how my body would react to just, the balance of its natural chemicals being altered by unnaturally introducing chemicals to it. Strange. But this is what happens sometimes, and I did not have a good time with it. I mean, it was terrible. It was terrifying. It was physically damaging to my body. There was a lot that happened. And what my psychiatrist said at times is that, I was emotionally stunted. Well, yeah, that makes sense. The brain is just a electrical system, and it's just got like balances of chemicals in it, and so does the entire body in the ways that it does. The nervous system of the body, which is our sense of touch, and just, the nerve endings firing, which is really just muscle fibers firing. The human body only pulls. A video under the main side of In the Image Clothing Company, right? There's opposing muscles to a function, and even in what seems like a push, we're just pulling two endpoints together with a muscle, okay, to extend a joint, like the elbow. Those triceps on the back side pull to extend the arm, and the bicep on this inner side pulls to close the arm. There's opposition in all things. We discuss that often in the gospel of Jesus Christ, aka the truth of all things. And that's really what I needed instead of medication, was to be a more devoted disciple of God. And there's times and places. I'm not saying that there couldn't possibly be a time ever for certain medications that are unnatural, because even though they are unnatural, the ones that are unnatural, okay? Not every medication is unnatural, but a lot of them are. Sometimes there are times where that's actually what we could say as, the correct thing to do in times and places. But for me, I just went through what I went through with it. It was not a good experience. But it's all right. I learned from it. It was rough. It was hell. It was rough as hell. It was hard. It was terrible. It was about 6 years of my life. The physical dependence story on substances. The physical substance dependence story. Okay, this is the point. That's the point. Really, is the emotional stuntedness that I was experiencing, emotionally stunted. Well, this is a big thing, is people, I got diagnosed with bipolar disorder. Really what I am is just all over the place. We've just got different personalities as human beings, and that's what I say. I talk about the dynamic of a human being often here on In the Image Clothing Company podcast. And I'm just so out there and different, and that's what we are called as disciples of Jesus Christ, is a strange and peculiar people. And boy, am I. Yes, very much so. Check it out. Behind this one here, there's 190 episodes of In the Image Clothing Company podcast. I'm all over the place, and all of a sudden I'm so loud, and then the next, time that I'm not as loud, and instead I'm quieter than I was at the time when I was very loud. I'm just a person who's got a lot of sides to me. I'm very intelligent, very smart. And why I say that is because people like that, who have a lot going on in their intellect, in their mind, those people are usually all over the place. There's some people who they think about more in about a half hour than other people do in an entire day. That's just how it is. People are very different, but we are all universally designed in the image of God, okay? In the Image Clothing Company. Jesus Christ, the designer of our bodies, the God of all, the creator of all things. Don't believe me, but welcome. We give a lot of context. You got a problem with us? Stick around. That deeper context that we give will deepen your understandings, okay, of what we're really saying and doing and why we're really here as In the Image Clothing Company. And really why we're just on this earth as human beings too, discussing the gospel of Jesus Christ. That's where those answers come from. God himself, the one who put us here. That would make sense. But you don't know what you don't know, so you can't be held accountable for not knowing something. And anyway, I mean, whatever you could claim I do or don't have, call me crazy. That's fine. But I've just got a lot of sides to me, and I was silenced growing up. I lived with a... Shoot. I just don't want to be trying to, be so, like, free with this that I, say some terrible things about people in ways that don't need to be said. I lived in a pretty terrible family dynamic growing up. Let's say it like that. Okay, my parents divorced when I was 7. I was very controlled. I was very, silenced is the big thing. And when you're somebody who has so much going on in their head all the time, so many thoughts and things, right? And then people around you silence you. you kind of like blow up at times, or you just implode, which is the opposite end, you know. And that's the thing. That's how I always felt, is like I just don't know what to do with anything because there's so much, and everybody tells me to be quiet, you know, around me. And I was the youngest child out of only two of us, and then, you know, I was living with just a single parent, and I wasn't being treated well. It's just the case, okay, is what I'm just saying. I'm just giving context. I'm seriously my childhood, and there was a lot to it in a lot of ways. It was really rough. It was really, really something that a lot of people experience. Let's say it like that, because I know my problems aren't unique, but boy, was it a problem, you know? There was a lot of problems that I had to deal with and didn't know how to. Let's say it like that, because that's the case. Do you see what I mean? So then, you know, they put me on medication because I just wanted help. And really what I wanted was to be loved and understood and to be able to just be myself without people trying to just like, you know, shove a pillow over my face and, you know, just suffocate me into nothingness if I did or said something they didn't want to have happen. Do you see what I mean? And so call me bipolar, but really what happens is we just get so silenced. We get emotionally stunted because we've got so much emotion as human beings. It's energy in motion. Emotion. That's literally where the word comes from, right? What do words mean? Words only mean what words mean. Truth is truth. Don't believe me. I don't get to decide. But here's the point. God. There's a dynamic to the human being. You know, there's a lot of sides to me, especially. Some people, there's not as many sides to. There's not as much dynamic to. There's not as much depth to. That doesn't mean one person is necessarily better or worse because of those reasons, but we're different. While we're all the same, we are very different in ways as well. So anyway, there's a lot to me, and there's a lot to me, okay? That's just the case. That's the case for a lot of people. I'm one of them, okay? And growing up, I was so silenced and so silenced and so silenced. And so now I've gone to the other end of the extreme and I just scream everything. And I claim that I am balanced, but really you know, anyway, no, the truth is I'm pretty darn well balanced. I'm very loud. But I was a loud little kid. I mean, that's the point. You know, a little kid, I'm screaming and making all this loud noise and stuff. People tried to silence me, and then eventually it kind of happened. I just kind of stopped talking. And I don't mean kind of. I mean, there were years of my life where a lot of the time I would not say any words. You know, I mean, I've seen movies like this. You know, it's a behavioral thing. It's a coping mechanism. People don't speak. Children especially, you know. They'll go years sometimes without speaking just about at all. Even if they can speak well, you know, like physically and like mentally, cognitive ability. They stop speaking. That's how I was for a lot of my life. Yeah. I mean, even my extended family knows this and remembers this, you know. Not just only to the degree of just being shy and not saying very much. I mean, sometimes I would not speak for an extended duration of time. Even in my own family, it wasn't because of like just, you know, nervousness outside when I was with people I didn't know. No, I mean, I would not speak for a lot of my life. When I say I was silenced, I mean like literally I stopped speaking for a long time. And, you know, throughout different periods in my life. I mean, truly, yeah. I mean, this is just behavioral things that we do as human beings. It's not unique to me by any means. Wow. I'm a lyricist. I truly am. In the Image Clothing Company music is another one of our fourths. And you heard me play a little bit of guitar if you did here at the beginning. This is Red the Guitar, the Little Johnson JG610R 3/4 size with nylon strings. Because I'm Evan Strong and I do crazy things with nylon strings. But anyway, yeah, sizing and setup of guitar to not alter the body gets shown on In the Image Clothing Company music. We just discuss in all aspects of life, fingernails and toenails all the way to the tips of the fingers and toes, fully backing and supporting them, cut relatively flat so we stay in this neutral wrist position, and neutral gripped arches position, straight forward from the pinky toe and the feet as well, right? There you go. Anyway, so the point is that we do lyricism, rhythm and poetry, metronome madness was a series with 40 episodes. It still is a series, but it's completed as of now. There you go, okay? Yeah, spoken word, music through singing, guitar playing, a lot of fun things like this geared around the gospel of Jesus Christ on In the Image Clothing Company music. Okay, and that's the thing is I'm so I was gonna say I'm so lyrical. That works, sure. Lyrical. I don't even know if I've ever really used that word to describe myself. I say I'm a lyricist because I am. I'm so musical though, and you know, there's a lot to me. I've just got so much going on in my head all the time. Well, and you can tell just by how quickly I speak. That's a big point. Often I'm just like rumbling through my words, so much so that I say rumbling instead of rambling. Because I'm not even really rambling. I'm just like a stampede. It's just so fast that the ground shakes. Rumble. Oh shoot, is that his name? There's a dog over at the South Utah Valley Animal Shelter. He's really cute. Australian Shepherd, as far as I'm aware. I think his name is Rumble. Anyway, I was over there again today. Okay, hanging out with the dogs. Here's the point. Emotionally stunted. There's just a lot to me. If there's a lot to somebody and that much of that person, just meaning their authentic full self, is too much for someone else, and that person that is too much for tries to tell them to be less, then, wow. That's hard. Because you are only who you are. And now you have less than someone else, or so they say. But really, yeah, they're trying to get you to be less than you are. Okay, and that's not possible. While being who you are, we're only who we are. God designed us as who we are. We don't get to decide who we are or change it. And so anyway, I am who I am, and I'm very, very, very full of information, full of thoughts. I'm very quick-witted. I am funny. This is my personal ad, it's not really, but it sounds like it. That's, well, sure, if you want to call it that. That's not my intention on saying those things right now, is to like advertise who I am, but kind of at the same time. Yeah, it's not a bad thing. Because that's what I mean. That's what I'm saying is I'm just who I am. And that was too much for my father, my earthly father, my dad. He didn't like it. He doesn't like very much of anything. He's a hard man to deal with. I'm not being mean. I'm not speaking bad things about human beings. I'm telling the truth. It's just how it was. It's how it is. Anybody who's in his life currently. It's just how it is. People are who they are. Who isn't hard to deal with, Hypothetical episode of In the Image Clothing Company podcast. That's a hypothetical title. I've said it, a few days ago. We'll probably make that or something like it. And when we just discuss it, I just discussed it right there to a degree, who isn't hard to deal with, really? But it's hard when you can't really get away with somebody who's hard to deal with because you're, legally their family, you're biologically their family, and it's just how it is. No negative things being spoken against anybody, but just speaking it as it is, You just have no say when you're a kid on where you go. But, I got so silenced, and so what you could say is just, because of the behavioral coping mechanisms I adopted on silencing myself and allowing the things around me to silence me, the voices of people, the opinions of people, and then the words that were spoken to and about me, often not true also, might I add. Okay. A lot of manipulation and lies growing up is what I was around. Being driven out draws you closer to God, or however it's exactly worded. That's an episode title of In the Image Clothing Company podcast. But here's the point. That's the point. The point is, I was already what you could call emotionally stunted before I ever went on any medication to alter my body's chemistry. Physically, right? Because, yeah, I just kind of closed off everything about myself, just about. Yeah, for a long time. And that's terrible. That's so rough. So bad. It's so rough. And it's funny, too, because it's not funny at all. But what's, crazy about it is it's nuts. I love dogs. We have In the Image Clothing Company poodles, and we specialize in purebred standard poodles. My hell. This is ridiculous. I want to just, change the world. Well, it's because it's crazy. This is the point, some dogs, they get very, very scared, and you'll see this. I was hanging out with a dog today over at the South Utah Valley Animal Shelter. I was hanging out with two different labs. One of them was a puppy, about a year old, and the other one was 4 years old. They were both female. Okay. Labs are great dogs, by the way. They're great dogs. They're great dogs. And I was hanging out with the 4-year-old lab. Well, they said she was 4. I don't know if they know exactly how old she was. If she came in as a stray, maybe they don't. But anyway, I kind of wonder if she was older than 4 because she gets, what those labs get. German Shepherds get this. I mean, a lot of dogs do, but like they get a gray beard. They really do, that their beard grows, gray. Really what that is lack of pigmentation over time, as far as I'm aware. It just, stops, the fur stops being colored as they age, just like human beings, Anyway, yeah, that's cool. The point is, I'm humbled by this because the dogs, yeah, anyway, some dogs are very nervous, and they're very submissive, and they like get down like this, and they like look up at you, and they roll over on the ground, and they're just like, they don't really say much. That was Evan Strong, for a long time, which is my name, by the way, the founder in this for life of In The Image Clothing Company. And that's how it was, I was so silenced, and so I was just like this little submissive toy for people to play with. And boy, did they. So I was already what you could call emotionally stunted. And then, yeah, I got put on medication to try to balance out what was going on with me. Why is he so scared? What is wrong with that? There's something wrong with it. It needs something. Put medication into it and it fixed it. No. Emotionally stunted. My heavens. Oh my gosh. It's crazy, bro. That's how it works, is that it doesn't work. You can't alter the human body's natural chemistry and expect it to work. There's a balance to things. There's opposition in all things. There's only one way the human body could ever work, as we discussed. It just is what it is, dude. That's what I mean, I'm so expressive, and I was as a little kid, and my dad did not like that. My sister didn't like that. She's just the older sister, I'm just the annoying little brother to her at the time. That's understandable. To a degree. Okay, I get it. To a degree. Okay, still a human being. Still try to do all you can to be kind, even when it's hard. But you don't even know how to do that if you don't know God, by the way. Jesus Christ, right? His backward approach to everything, the paradoxical gospel of Jesus Christ. Turn the other cheek. Turn your back to the smiters. Give to those that take from you. Somebody asks you to go with them 1 mile, you go with them 2 miles. Why? Well, because God says so. And then he rewards us for doing things. It's not about the rewards, but he will, You serve God and your life works. And if you don't, you have a hard time. Okay? Don't believe me. I'm not preaching some kind of thing. I'm just telling you how life is. This is God. This is the one who created life. And you are life. Or you are not alive. Wow. The truth of all things. Literal. So anyway, yeah, emotionally stunted is a state that I was already in. Just because, there wasn't much expression to me, because if there was, then I would get told I was too much. I would get told to be quiet. I would get, thrown in a room and the door locked. I would just get told that I was wrong. I would get shut down. And I would get blamed for things I didn't do. All these things that happened so often when I was a kid. Just as it is, like I'm saying. It's what it is, and it was not fun. It was really, really, really hard just to be a kid. Just because of the experience I was in. It was rough, dude. It was so hard. And my childhood was ridiculously hard. And everyone's is, what it is. And sometimes people have... it's crazy. I mean, people have it worse than you. People have it better than you on all ends. Who you can't compare. You can't. But you can sure talk about it, and it's crazy. So I was already what you could have called it emotionally stunted, And then you put chemicals in my body, and then at times I was on 4 medications at a time, like psychiatric, mental health medications. You've got things like serotonin reuptake inhibitors. You've got things like I was on medication that's the kind of medication that people steal to do drugs. Um, Clonopin, clonazepam. I think that's the same thing with 2 different titles of the same medication. Olanzapine or olanzapine, trazodone, Latuda. Oh yeah, listen to this. I'll just list off some things I was on. Lexapro, gabapentin. A lot of these are just used for all sorts of things too. And how does that even make any sense? It just one size fits maybe nothing, but try it for everything. Wow, this is ridiculous. One size fits the really tall guy. An episode title of In the Image Clothing Company podcast. Anyway, so yeah, I was on a lot of medication, man, and it was rough. It was ridiculous. And withdrawals are just so crazy. Your body doesn't know how to deal without medication, because it gets used to having to deal with medication. So you have to really slowly wean off of things. And it's just rough. It was crazy, And so my body was just full of all sorts of different medications that I was taking either once a day or morning and night. Sometimes it was 3 times a day with a lot of these medications, Yeah. And that just really messes up your body and your emotions, emotion, energy in motion. There's just a balance to how the body works. And I said a lot of this, part of this, on that episode of In the Image Clothing Company podcast titled The Physical Substance Dependence Story. But it's good to give context for that, or on that, for this, in this here episode, because, yeah, it just is what it is, bro. The body, there's only one way it could ever work. And also just, you are only who you are. You try to be anything else, and you are being inauthentic. Okay. There you go. Anyway, so that's a big point. Medication, it can stunt your emotions. Stunt them as in, if you have a fullness to an emotion or like a full height of something, you like hit it down to a lower height and you've stunted it, something that's as big as it is, you make it smaller than it just actually is, and you've stunted it, if you will, right? That's the title, right? Emotionally Stunted, episode 191 of In the Image Clothing Company podcast. There's a lot of things that can cause us to feel emotionally stunted physically, though. We talk about the body. There's just 2 sides to everything. And I talk about it like this. The body works on Earth's gravity. So the ankles bend backwards, the knees bend forward, the hips bend backwards, the lower spine, which is the lumbar, bends forward, the thoracic spine, which is the middle spine, bends backward, and then the upper spine, which is the cervical spine, bends forward. The body just bends front to back and front to back and front to back as we go up on Earth's gravity, because we have opposing muscles and there's opposition in the functioning to keep us vertical. Like we say, there's no such thing as posture. God designed the body to work. Designed to Work is an episode title of In the Image Clothing Company podcast. There's just one neutral, natural, and normal, like we say, position to everything in the body to keep all the musculature activated. The human body can only work activated as a whole. It's all there. Everything has its own role to play. No compensation can be had because everything has its own individual role. So it can't make up a role for something else that has a different function. The body would just work. If we never placed clothing on it, if we never made these man-made things, the chair heights with weight on our hamstrings, that's really what it means. One size fits the really tall guy. Somebody who's tall enough for their lower legs to be long enough to be off of the chair with the hamstring, okay? The muscle on the rear of the upper leg is the hamstring, or hamstrings, right? The muscles back there. And we sit on our sit bones or our ischiums, which is the bottom of the pelvis or the hips, like I'm doing now, sitting on the ground, as I almost always, at least, film episodes of In the Image Clothing Company podcast on the ground. That's where I sit, almost always, if I'm sitting. That's where it's natural to. So anyway, yeah, we've got a lot of modern man-made things. Stretch in clothing, it goes the opposite direction of the only way muscles could ever work. Stretch is new, just only decades old as of today's date. Me saying this right now, the 12th of December, 2025. It's come with these unnatural materials that we invented as human beings, okay? Stretch, yeah, goes away from you, and muscles only pull. Muscles connect from the outside of the shoulder into the sternum in the center of the body in the front, evenly on both sides, and from the outside of the shoulder, evenly into the center and the spine, in the rear of the body on both sides. I mean, there's only one way the human body could ever work. Neutral is to internal versus external rotation in the forearms, in the entire arms, in the lower legs, and in the entire legs. There's just only one way the body can work. It's physically impossible, mechanically, legitimately, actually just impossible to train to a neutral, a center of gravity, the center line to the body, a center to internal versus external rotation. It's impossible to train that. A neutral? It is impossible. That's why people keep doing it. That's why you keep stretching. That's why you keep working out. That's why you keep trying all these different diet plans and whatever, because you'll never do it. The only thing we can ever do for the human body is allow it to work by unrestricting it, learning how it operates and let it. That includes just eating naturally, eating and drinking with the left hand, meaning really just non-dominant, right? That's a video under the main site of In The Image Clothing Company. Our jaw is huge. Our jaw is the shoulder. Okay, look at this. Directly, it connects right to the very outside of the shoulder from the jaw. Okay, so keeping tops, collars centered, anyway, we've got so many videos, so many free modifications, like I say, in clothing. Mostly you'll find them under In The Image Clothing Company's main side, where we discuss the anatomy of the human body in depth. But this is the big point with, well, a lot of this. Yeah, I mean, just being emotionally stunted. That's the point, is we have our feet. This is really where I was getting to when I started discussing in this specifically, right? How the bends of the body go back and forth, front to back really is what it is. Or back to front, I guess. That is what I was saying. Forth and front, right? Back and forth. The ankles, the knees, the hips, the spine, as we travel up, the body bends forward and back. There's no such thing as posture. There's just only one neutral position to Earth's gravity's pull straight down on us, and then our body's just staying vertical. They have to just balance, And so with our opposing muscles, each side of a function has to have a little bit of contraction or activation to the muscles just to keep our bodies standing up, or we just fall over if a little bit of wind blew, like no joke. Okay, that's how that works. That's how we stabilize. The jaw is stabilizing the entire body, like I say. That's a big, big thing. The jaw is such a big focus for the entire body's function, down to the feet and the arches in them, out to the hands and the rounding to our hands. A lot of that is the fingernails. A lot of it's just the neutral position to the wrist, straight out from the pinky finger. Just like straight out from the pinky toe is neutral, right, for the foot, with our different length toes, longer in the center and shorter on the outside. So we actually roll evenly off of the ends of our different length toes, and so our feet roll inward when we walk. If your feet stick out and only half of their rotation from the neutral external rotation away from the body, you're just putting pressure off of basically only your big toe. You have 4 other toes on each foot, if you do. Maybe you have an amputation, a deformity, a birth defect, a major surgery, or something that has altered your body a little bit or quite a bit, or sets you apart a little bit or quite a bit, and that's fine. But there is a universal human design we have to get as close as we can to allow the body to work as best as we personally can. What I'm saying is, we talk a lot about just how there truly is only one way the human body could ever work. And you will feel emotionally stunted with things like that. Half of your body's rotations taken away. Half of your body is functioning in a joint taken away. And so we talk about the importance of even. We have a lot of videos titled that as the beginning of the title. And then things like insertions of muscles in the body, or things like short sleeves, right? The importance of even short sleeves. Okay. The importance of even body parts all throughout, from the feet up to the tip of the head, out to the fingertips. The body's all there. It all has to be paid attention to. Let's say it like that for right now, for this. Because, yeah, we talk about the importance of zero drop shoes. The term just meaning the bottom of the shoe is flat on the ground. Because we also talk about the importance of even ankle flexion. Okay. Our feet lift up, dorsiflexion is what that's called, lifting the toes. Then we have our feet flat on the ground and we can point our toes, which is called plantar flexion. And so, yeah, the feet just flat on the earth's surface is the neutral, okay, to dorsiflexion versus plantar flexion. Lifting the toes versus pointing the toes. Lifting the toes is half of the foot's function, as we just said there. That's just the top of the shoe. One of our two prerequisites, in addition to just where we discuss clothing sits, as in the Image Clothing Company, is in the Image Clothing Company's shoelacing technique. One of the biggest things you'll ever focus on is the top of your feet is half of their functioning, okay? There's only one way you can weave a rope across the top of the feet and not alter the way that all the bones, ligaments, tendons, and muscles grip arches and just work. Clear the bones in there and not wear out the cartilage that's right between the bones that's just cushioning their functioning when there is only one way the feet work. Okay, that's a video I filmed down in beautiful St. George, Utah, where we're based. I just need to move down there as of me saying it right now. Currently, I'm sitting in Utah County, Utah, okay? I'm Utah native. We live up Utah, as in the Image Clothing Company, for the sake of the nature. Poodle Parade events, and a lot of the events we do in nature. But Poodle Parade events, you can bring your purebred standard poodles, purebred miniature poodles, purebred toy poodles, purebred teacup poodles even, maybe, if, right? What I mean is poodles, purebred of any size, and or mixed poodles of any size. Bring them here to the state of Utah, or wherever we end up going with our events. Arizona and Nevada are very close to southern Utah, where St. George is. Okay, very close to St. George, Utah itself, the town. It's right on the border of the very south end of Utah. But we'll get people into nature, dogs into nature, have a really good time. Don't come for us, come for the event and why we're doing it. A lot of the times we'll be doing things for the environment, like clean the creek or rid the rubbish, you know, Poodle Parade events and certain things like this. So what I'm saying is, whatever I was saying that for, I guess that's just good context to say in this. I say that often where I do. I have, at least as of, late. But the feet, they just have to work the only way they could. Yes, I made a video titled, There Is Only One Way the Feet Work. And then back to back, I made another one titled, There Is Only One Way the Hands Work. We just have to have things clearing and tracking in line. When I show my hands like this, for those of you in visual plus audio of In the Image Clothing Company podcast currently, we are available in audio only as well. Okay, so there's two forms of checking us out here. If my fingers are in line, then they can open and close, and the bones can clear each other and they don't get damaged. If I just drop my wrist down to one end of its neutral, you've got all these angles of all these joints, and all the tendons and the functionality going on in the hands are just on angles and binding up. And then if we come up to the other end of the neutral, same thing. It's a little bit too much strain because the fingertips are really the elbow. Okay, there's two bones in the forearm that allow rotations, the radius and ulna. We start at the elbow before we ever get to the fingertips. Really, we start up at the spine, but really we start down at the feet because of Earth's gravity. There's only one way the human body could ever work. We discuss it so deeply. I know we say things that people don't really understand a lot of the time, but there's no possible dispute to what we say when it comes to the functionality of the body and how to allow it to work. Really, our whole focus, our whole point of In the Image Clothing Company's main side. That's the only reason we talk about clothing. Anything that clothes the human body, or just the body of an animal, if we're discussing letting dogs stay natural, okay, which that information applies to most all animals in ways, at least most all the information in ways, or some of it at least, okay, hear what I'm saying there, because yeah, truly, even if you have a cat, check out In the Image Clothing Company Poodles, we've got information for you and your cat. This is what I mean. We're doing really, really big things here. I am in this for life. we've laid a beautiful foundation, right? So now we're just credible and always, that's really great. Because this is the point, is, there's just only one way things work in the body. It's just a mechanical machine placed onto a rock in space. The human being placed on Earth. That's what we say. That's how I've worded it many times. The feet, yeah, the top of them is just half of the function. Lifting the toes, or, dorsiflexing the ankle, lifting the ankle up. That's what, the top of the shoe is determining. The shoelacing is just shaping the upper of the shoe the way that the top of your foot is shaped, okay? In the Image Clothing Company shoelace technique, one of our 2 prerequisites, our second prerequisite is removing all tags from clothing. Tags in clothing didn't even exist until just a few decades ago, truly. It's now a legal thing because why it is, a big reason as to why it became a legal thing to have to put tags in clothing is because of these invented, unnatural, artificial, man-made materials. And people are having reactions to things that make sense to have happen. I mean, yeah, these are not real things, and they're placed onto the body. We talk about it like a topical cream, right? You place unnatural things on the surface of the skin, and it soaks into the body and damages you now from the inside out. Like when you place a topical cream on your skin to heal your body from the inside out. Anything that clothes the human body, it has to be in all the ways that we can have it be natural. There's only natural. There's no approach. I mean, it was always only like this, natural is what I mean, until recently. The world's becoming increasingly more unnatural. It's ridiculous. I'm stuttering through it. I mean, it's because it's so impactful. It's ridiculous. The level of speed, we talk about like exponential growth in life. Just as things grow, they grow faster as they're growing faster, and it gets faster as it gets faster. It compounds on itself. That's what's happening. Inflation of money and unnatural materials. The Industrial Revolution really, was the kickstart of all this stuff in the 1900s. Anyway, we live a society, we live a world, we live an existence that human beings never possibly could have in the past. This is what I mean. It's the truth of all things. We're just discussing life as it is, as in the Image Clothing Company and all 4 sides. It's just the truth. It's crazy. It is what it is, dude. You don't have to care about clothing. It's affecting you if it's not placed on your body intentionally, and you just don't know how to do that if you don't know how to do that. And that's not your fault. We shouldn't have to modify clothing, but we have to modify clothing in modern design. It's so imbalanced, and there's only one way the human body could ever work. In almost every case, it's so imbalanced, okay? So that's the point of In the Image Clothing Company clothing and In the Image Clothing Company dog products like collars, leashes, harnesses, and whatever else we branch out into. It's for our intent of allowing the body to work and letting dogs stay natural, okay? Anyway, it's just as real as it gets, dude. It's as obvious as it is once you see it. And I've said a lot of these things. I mean, most all of this stuff I've discussed to some degree before today's date. But I'm in this for life, we just deeper context. As I learn more, I deliver deeper context. And we just understand these things deeper as time progresses as well. Just the way that we're doing this, that's the point, okay? So, the feet, they have to be flat on the ground. And we've got heels on shoes. You put a heel under your foot, okay? And you change the bend of all the joints all the way up to the tip of your fingers, which is actually the top of your body because you can raise your arm above your head. And there's the tip of your fingers. It's not the tip of your head, really. Our feet alter the tips of our fingers, and if we have heels on our shoes, the bend of the ankle changes, which goes up and changes the bend of the knee, changes the bends of the hips, and then the spine excessively bends and up and out to the jaw, and then the elbows can't straighten, and the wrists are chronically stuck down rather than neutral, and then they can go up from there. In the whole body, the whole entire body, the jaw is so huge. So this is the big point. Shoes, okay? If you have heels on shoes, you're going to feel, people call it disassociated, right? Disassociation. I don't associate myself as a human being when I feel like I'm detached from the planet that we're on. I mean, yeah, call me bipolar. Call me. I said bye to the both of the poles of the earth, and I left the planet. So it feels like if you're disassociated, if you're emotionally stunted. Do you see what I mean? It is what it is, kids. The therapist would get more. That's an episode title of In the Image Clothing Company podcast. The basis of that was the therapist would get more from me than I would from them if I go into the therapist office and say, hey, do you know Jesus Christ? Let me introduce you to him. He's your God. He created you. Instead of trying to give you some kind of like thing to do as a therapist, to try to feel better. Yeah, no, it's not going to work. Sorry to burst your bubble. It's not going to work. You rely on God or you have nothing to rely on because everything changes except for Jesus Christ. He's the same yesterday, today, and forever. You got all sorts of modalities on how to help something or someone or how to try to help yourself. And these approaches always change and they never seem to really work. They might work a little bit and they don't last. God lasts. We endure to the end as disciples of Jesus Christ. So the feet have to be flat on the ground. Otherwise, you're going to feel disassociated. You're going to feel emotionally stunted. You're going to feel unpresent, ungrounded, because you're not grounded. Again, where do words come from? There's only truth to life. This is what I mean. Your therapist can't really help you if they're trying to come up with things to do. It's always on the back end. Allowing the body to work because God designed it. Letting dogs stay natural because God designed them. Grounded. We want to feel rooted, grounded. Trees put their roots into the earth. When we're grounded, we're on the ground. You put heels under your feet and you feel ungrounded, unpresent. You feel like you're just, even unpresent. You put heels under your feet and what really happens is your body leans forward and you just fall on your face unless you excessively bend your body throughout all of it to just compensate from Earth's gravity's centered pole that never changes. Okay, but I'm not here like making fun of people. I was wearing boots with an inch heel for like 4 years, and then just other shoes as well where I was throughout my life that had heels on them. I was doing just about every single thing wrong that I sit here behind cameras as the founder of In the Image Clothing Company and to tell people are so terribly damaging their bodies. It's because I know the effect of it. Like I say, I preach what I have practiced. That includes the end of the damage to my own body. But I didn't know what was happening. So I speak it as bold as I do because you have to be intentional about these things or your entire life is very, very, very damaged. You don't have to care, but it is the truth. The things that are, and I don't get to decide them, okay? No human being could ever decide truth. That is delusional. But what I can tell you is this will make you feel emotionally stunted. Anything that alters the body. Because emotion is energy in motion, like I said. Again, I know what I'm talking about. There's an episode of In the Image Clothing Company podcast titled... What is it titled? The physicality of emotion. Because, emotion, it's a physical thing. Energy in motion. The body's a mechanical machine, a machine of motion. Emotions are just the body expressing. Put very simply. There's a lot going on, though, and the point is, there's only one way the human body could ever work. This is no possible opinion, no approach. This is just me discussing the truth that I did not decide. You can't put heels under your feet. Physically impossible is an episode title of In the Image Clothing Company podcast. A lot of what I talked about in there was just the angle of our waistbands of pants. We talk about where clothing sits for everyone. Man, woman, tall, short, skinny, fat, any age, any part of the earth, any time period to ever be. You're just a human being, as I say. Meaning, as I say, because I am the founder of In the Image Clothing Company. That's what In the Image Clothing Company does here, right? Is we show where clothing sits to not alter the body. And then I just scream and I shoot through the ceiling. This is what will change your life entirely. Nothing to do with us. but we're here giving the information. It's the truth apart from all of us. We don't get to decide. But we also don't get to decide to not care about it and let that be just an okay possibility without terribly damaging repercussions coming to us as human beings. Okay. So the pant waistlines, they sit above the hips at what's called our natural waist and slightly higher in the front than the rear because there's a neutral to the pelvis, posterior versus anterior with its rotations on Earth's gravity, and we just don't want our pelvis falling any farther down in the front than neutral. Okay, we're doing things in front of us. Our hands are in front of us. We bend forward. We look forward. We walk forward. If our pelvis is going to be altered on one end or the other of posterior versus anterior, okay, I just did the motion wrong with my hands there from what I was saying. Posteriorly tucking underneath us or anteriorly falling, essentially, is really the two options. Even though there's a neutral between them, it's because we do things in front of us. Our bodies fall into an anterior rotation of the pelvis that travels down to the feet and puts us into external rotation. It travels out to the hands and up to the head and the shoulders to the jaw, which is the head, right? The whole body. Okay. We talk about a lot of things, and it's just there's so much to say, and I'm in this for life, but it's beautiful to document these things if and where and all the times that we ever do that. Okay, because this is the truth. This will never change. All this information, well, the things that are, true, which is these things here, about the functionality of the body, and that's really what our company is on the main side. So anyway, that's the point of doing this at all, out of anything I could ever do in my life. That's why I'm in this for life, and that's why I get so emotional with it sometimes, and that's why, whatever you want to say, there's a lot of explanation that comes to, why things are what they are here because of what we're really doing through this, okay? Yeah, there you go. See what we really do, please, because it applies to you and your dog, if you have one, and maybe even your snake, truly. A lot of the things we discuss, for sure, yeah. Okay, so here's the point. The point is any animal that it would apply to. And snakes are just quite a lot different than dogs, but, letting snakes stay natural, sure, right? Yeah, there you go. A lot of the information we say, it'll just directly transfer over to snake ownership. Yeah, truly. Reptiles, there you go. Okay, here we go. The body. You'll be disassociated if your pant waistline's falling lower in the front than it is in the rear. Your core will deactivate. The core can never deactivate. It's just the center of the body. It's not something to try to train. It's physically impossible to train the body. There's a neutral to everything, and in the neutral of the body, if you will, or the center of the body, there is a core. That's what the word means. Like an apple, it's just the center part of the rest of all of it. It's where everything stems from. Train everything outside of your core all you want to try to get it to work. No, just let your core just be unaltered, and the rest of your body should just be able to work fine as well. And because your core is really the thing is the center, the feet will affect the core, the hands will affect the core, the jaw will affect the core. If you can just keep your core active, then you're just going from the center out. And all you have to do is just not alter your body. The body can't work without its core active, which is a state that I was in for like 24 years, give or take. But yeah, right, give or take 24 years. Oh my gosh. I'm just not here with a claim. This is the truth, and it's nothing to ever possibly get to happen. That is impossible. You can only allow the body to work, and you can do it, though, is the point. And it's just what it is. It's not a walk in the park. Not a Walk in the Park is an episode title of In the Image Clothing Company podcast. Watch, if you want to know the truth of it. Look at Evan Strong, me, the founder of In the Image Clothing Company. Watch my body's visual and physical transformation through what we do, so much of, the gift of video, as I say, under all four sides of In the Image Clothing Company. You can see how much my body's changed, as of me saying this right now, since the very founding date, the 23rd of September 2024 of In the Image Clothing Company. Yeah, I've changed so much physically, and I haven't done any workouts. I've just gotten out of patterning, out of scar tissue. I've just allowed my body to have two sides to all the things in it because there are two sides, or there's nothing in it. There's opposition in all things. The only reason the hand's there is because it can go one way and it can go the other. If it could only go one way, you'd have to have motion coming from somewhere to be able to even get it to move. There's two sides. There's one thing and another thing, or neither exists. There's opposition in all things. There's light and dark, otherwise neither one. I am choking so bad. I don't know what's going on. There's a collar seam in the Image Clothing Company's dreaded collar seam modification. Has been done to this collar seam, and it's sure still sitting imbalanced, but it's not all that terrible after it's been modified. But I'm like really choking, like something in my throat kind of choking. Not choking on my words, like I'm not saying something correct. As far as I'm aware, just want to make sure I'm not missing something, is what I mean by not saying something correct. Not fully explaining something, possibly. Well, I'm in these shoes. That's a good point. There you go. That's probably what I need to say right now. I think that's, yeah, that's what I need. Yeah, okay. Thank you, Father. Seriously, that's real. Because this is the point. We're talking about these shoes right now. I just went over to the Deseret Industries thrift store, and I got these $8 used shoes. They're high tops, and they're very close to zero drop, the term on the bottom of them on the sole, but they have a very, very slight elevation inside of the insole of this shoe. The sole itself is flat, but the insole has this like little hidden piece under, only the rear part of it, and the toe part of it, like the forefoot to the toes, doesn't have that same level of elevation to it. There you go. That's what I needed to say. That's why I was choking up. Truly, okay? We've discussed it. I've made videos on the main side of In The Image Clothing Company about things like that. Hidden things, if you will. Whether it's intentionally hidden or unintentionally hidden. But things that are hidden to us that we just don't know about at times. Like underneath the soles of our shoes can be flat. But underneath the insoles inside of our shoes can have an elevation. Or a dropping, if you will. As opposed to zero dropping from heel to toe in the feet. Anyway, yeah, you'll just feel disassociated because now your hamstrings are anyway, it's your whole body. I could sit here and discuss the anatomy of the whole body to the degree that I would be sitting here to discuss it right now if I was trying to, give a thorough explanation right here on all the different activation and, elongation versus chronic tightness of muscles because there is the snake front to back or just the bends front to back in the body from the feet up to the tip of the top of it, the tippy top of it, the head or the fingertips. Okay. Yeah, wow, fun. This is fun. Truly, I mean it. That wasn't sarcastic. This is great. I'm in this for life. Yeah. Well, and it's so cool, like I say, it's good. I'm just documenting, bro. I mean, I'm just going to make however many videos I make, So anyway, disassociation. I love it. I'm all over the place, but am I crazy? Yes. Do I need medication, though? Well, it made me even more disassociated. It made me even more emotionally stunted. I had to go through so much to deal with withdrawal symptoms to get my body back to its only normal, right? The human body is only normal, as we discuss under In The Image Clothing Company. Body temperature, body fat percentage, amount of food we need each day, the hydration, the amount of sweating we do, okay? The neutral or normal positions to all of it on Earth's normal gravity pull. There's only a normal to the human body, by the way. No opinion, and your workouts just go away once you stop doing them. And so does all the progression that you thought you progressed to. Muscle mass you gained, the hypertrophy, and any kind of thing you thought you improved on while you were working out just entirely leaves you when you stop. I mean, besides practicing certain motions and movements, maybe, muscle memory, sure, but I mean, the muscle leaves that you gained. It does. No opinion to this. It's called atrophy. People know it. That's why you keep working out. Otherwise, you just work out for 3 months and then you're just big in musculature for the rest of your life. Big and musculature. Big and muscular. I do mix that up often. I have, at least, is the point. Instead of saying muscular, I say musculature. The musculature can look very muscular. Do you see what I mean? I'm a lyricist, and that word trips me up. It has, at least. I say musculature instead of muscular. Because I'm normally talking about the musculature of the body, because I'm not focused on trying to be muscular. Do you see what I mean? That's what I mean, it's where the priority's at. The priority is allowing the body to do the only thing it ever could. You can gain all the muscle you want. It just leaves once you stop trying to gain it. Back to the human body's only normal. So that's what I'm saying. You take medication to change your body's chemistry to try to balance out your emotions. And this is what I mean, times and places, because sometimes maybe, even if with things like hormones, if you know. So, right, times and places. But really, I just had to deal with so much withdrawal stuff. I never felt anywhere near like I could possibly maybe think I was myself when I was on medication. Okay. And so, no, right. We've got it all wrong if we've got it wrong. And I just didn't know what I know now at the time. Okay. But what I do know is there's a lot of things that can make us feel very emotionally stunted, even just the lack of fingernails. And this is another one of those things I've discussed quite a bit before. If you just don't have a physical grasp on reality because you're lacking support from your God-given backing to your fingernails and toenails, well, yeah, that's what they are. To your fingers and toes, though, those fingernails and toenails are so important. I mean, there's a video on the main site of In The Image Clothing Company, at least as of now. I don't know if it'll stay there for sure, just because of how the video was filmed. There was so much construction noise next to me, and that's common, right? As I say, blunt, bold, raw, and real In The Image Clothing Company. Sometimes I intentionally pick noisy locations for these foundational videos because it is what it is, and it's about, just documenting the information and the time periods. And if you can hear it, then I at least said these things at this time period. And also, it's just, I'm in this for life. We'll say more as we do, where we do. We'll talk about these things always if they're important enough to focus on continually, right? And the things that we discuss is the point, right? So that's what I mean. But yeah, cutting fingernails naturally is the video I was, referencing here. Yeah, I mean, if you don't have just a physical grasp on reality, your body's damaged and so overworked anyway when you're lacking fingernails or toenails, right? Where grip strength really comes from is a video I filmed down in St. George, Utah, about 3.5, 4 weeks ago, give or take. Yeah, however many weeks ago exactly it was. And fingernails, toenails, the arches in the feet grip the ground. Truly, literally, they grip. Very similar to how the hands work. There's only one difference in the amount of bones in the hands and feet, and their operations are so very similar. Okay. The neutrals out the ends of the pinkies of both the hands and the feet. We grip very, very similarly, in both. Anyway, there's 5 digits on each. It's just that, yeah, they're just about the same thing, truly. Now, here's the point, though, because you have to have fingernails and toenails. Otherwise, you feel emotionally stunted. You just don't feel like you're grasping reality, right? There is the rounding to the hands. The fingers is round around the thumb. The pads of the fingers are what we use. In modern day, we have a lot of things we're trying to use. Hear that phrasing correct. Trying to use the tips of our fingers for. It doesn't work. The hand, where the neutral wrist is slightly cocked back like this, we use the pads of our fingers. That's why there's fingerprints on, and like the center part of the fingerprint is on the center part of the pad of the finger. But we have technology at this time period. What we use it with a lot of the time is our fingertips, and we just get so disassociated. We get so emotionally stunted, So there's a lot of things. And anyway, I'm in this for life. And anyway, St. George, Utah. So here's the point. Emotionally stunted, it can come from a lot of things. We talk about a lot of things like, wow, I can't quite really say that like that yet. I am prepared to talk about a lot of things. I've had a lot of, Anyway, what we're focused on under In The Image Clothing Company is just natural, because that's all that's ever there until we change things to an unnatural state, which is unnatural. But yeah, these ideas of, natural airflow or natural ventilation, okay? Natural brightness, especially because we have man-made lightings in ways, natural volumes of things because we have speakers, pre-recorded things like I'm doing right here that we can play back. All these natural things, like that are often so imbalanced and unnatural, so unnaturally bright that we're damaging a lot of our bodies, and that just makes us feel disassociated anyway, you know. Yeah, especially with the unnatural light itself, even regardless of the brightness. A lot of the time, the way we light things nowadays is through a very unnatural means of doing so. Anyway, so there's a lot of these things. What I mean by I can't really say that we have discussed these as in the Image Clothing Company yet is because I don't have specific videos on some of those things yet, but I've thought about them a lot. I am intentional personally as the founder of In the Image Clothing Company with these things, and I am in this for life. And yeah, we'll talk about these things, natural airflow, natural lighting, natural sound levels, these kind of things are very, very huge. And when it comes to sizing and setup of guitar, and then having our guitar in tune or any music at all, just having things just feel and sound natural, just the strings of a guitar vibrating and resonating in the whole body of the wood of the guitar. Well, nowadays we've got guitars that are made of unnatural materials as well, the whole body of the guitar. Times and places, sometimes that's not even a bad thing. Sometimes it can be great, actually, in a lot of ways. Okay. I've had over 20 guitars. I've torn them all apart and worked on them, personally. So I know my ins and outs of guitar, certainly. Okay. Yeah, in a lot of different ways of how that could be even explained. As of today's date, because of what's happened up until today's date, it's been crazy. Anyway, that's why we have 1/4 of In the Image Clothing Company as In the Image Clothing Company music. Well, a big reason as to why. Okay, is guitar. But yeah, I mean, just the vibrations of things that are either natural or unnatural. We have so many things nowadays that are man-made, and it just can get crazy to where we feel so disassociated, so emotionally stunted. I'm kind of, in ways, using those as synonyms in this episode for the discussion of what I'm making this for and how I'm explaining what I'm explaining here. Okay. As the founder of In the Image Clothing Company, in this for life. But even things like the unnaturally flat flooring, we can't grip the ground with our feet arches on slippery, unnaturally flat flooring when there's always just texture in nature. And this is the same for our dogs when they're in our houses, on our flooring. That can make you feel quite emotionally stunted, because it'll just change your entire body all the way up and all the way throughout, to the tip of the head, to the tips of the fingers, the jaw. The jaw's a big one. If your feet just can't grip arches, then they fall outward into external rotation. That's just how it works mechanically. The height of a gripped arch is a video under the main site of In the Image Clothing Company. When we grip arches, they grip inward just because of the different length toes. That's why we have to, quote, keeping heels on the ground, okay? We keep the heels on the ground, and we have a contact point from the tip of the toes to the tip of the heel to grip arches inward with, from the toes to the heels. They have to pull together. The human body only pulls, muscles only contract. And then as, our toes do grip, they are different lengths, and so then the foot pulls in and back like this, and then it's neutral straight forward from that pinky toe. Just like how I'm showing here with the hand, for those of you in visual plus audio, of In the Image Clothing Company Podcast, episode 191, titled Emotionally Stunted. The feet and the hands are just about the exact same thing, okay? But those pinky toes can't even touch the ground if you lift the heels of the feet off the ground unnaturally, because the pinky toes are just the shortest toe. And also we just walk on the outside of our feet because the arch is gripped from the outside in to oppose the center line of the body. And the pinky toes are small compared to the long, big toes. There's only one way the human body could ever work. I know what I'm talking about. Don't believe me. I'm in this for life, and the Image Clothing Company will change your life. It truly will. I don't care who you are. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how much you already know about something. We've got something that you haven't heard. I guarantee it. That will benefit your life. And then we do this for dogs as well. That's what I mean, Letting dogs stay natural, brother and sister, everyone, dude. Come one, come all, right? Come on, man. My name's not Jamal, but it could be. And, then it would rhyme with what I said. Oh, shoot. Anyway, Black, white, bond, and free, all are alike in the eyes of Jesus Christ. Okay? So hear that correct. Please. I was gonna beatbox further out of that, but I didn't know what to do. I hit that snare so hard. I just kind of it was like a resolve, and I didn't know where to go from there. But it was really short at the same time, so it was kind of surprising to me. Anyway, wow, emotionally stunted. So don't be. But I mean, I had things in my pockets for so many years, my body was just having such a hard time working. We just talk about the oversized clothing, Oversized tops and the collarbones is a video. Well, take the S off if we're going like literal with the tithing. Tiding. Good tidings of great joy. Christmas time is coming soon. It's December 12th, 2025. Anyway, remember the reason for the season. It's the birth of our God in the flesh, Jesus Christ. We celebrate that on the 25th of December, 2025, which is this year, but whatever year we do it every year, okay? Because God, that is a title. He created you. And you don't believe in anything and see what happens. The truth is truth, bro. I don't believe in anything, but God is who he is. Jesus Christ is God. He is who he says that he is. We read the Word of God, the Book of Mormon, the Holy Bible. We do what we do. I'm in this for life. Check it out, bro. You ready for some cool stuff? We're already in this a good ways. But I'm going to say it like this. Today I filmed a video on the main site of In The Image Clothing Company titled... There's a little bit longer beatbox for you. The other one caught me a little bit off guard how short it was. A minute or two ago there, whatever it was. Anyway, the point is, oversized clothing and the collarbone is a video that I filmed today. And I posted it on the main site of In The Image Clothing Company, public for anybody on the earth to see, because we have the internet. And I filmed it through the gift of video. It's a gift. It's ridiculous. I'm not mad, I'm crazy. Here's the point. I love to say that, and I'm so grateful to be able to say that. That's awesome. Okay, check this out, bro. I was talking about something. What was I talking about? Like exactly before I got to discussing that video I filmed today, because I was just talking about things that can cause us to be physically, disassociated as human beings. Oh, that's why I was saying that. What led me to say it. I mean, it's just good context regardless of what led me to it. But the same skin on the entire body is the same skin on the entire body, okay? The same skin on the tip of the head is the same skin down on the feet, down at the fingertips, all the extremities. That's the 5 that we could discuss as being extremities of the body. Tip of the head, the tips of both hands, and the tips of both feet. Okay, fingertips and toe tips. You need some fingernails and toes that fully support them. Okay, anyway, so this is the point. Oversized clothing makes life hard, as we say. It's a video under the main site of In The Image Clothing Company. But yeah, if we're pulling down on the shoulders are the jaw, as you can see here, right? Directly connecting. So that's why we need to keep our collars centered for human beings and dogs. In The Image Clothing Company's dreaded collar seam modification, we give free modifications for dog collars as well. But then in the Image Clothing Company clothing and in the Image Clothing Company's dog products, okay? Under InTheImageClothingCompany.com, that it'll always be great. Do everything clothing, do everything dog products. We will always breed our purebred standard poodles to be in all the ways that we can, right? Do everything dogs, so we can be do everything human beings. It's kind of our focus, our approach to life is do everything that you need to. Yeah, okay. Ideally, we can without being restricted is the point. So, anyway, let's get to it. We're in it. I just feel like I'm just starting. There's just so much to say. 14 and a half months into this, and I got the rest of my life, brother, to do this, in addition to what we've already laid here. And we've laid a beautiful foundation. We are set up for success. Set up for success. Set up for success. That's an episode title of In The Image Clothing Company Podcast, and we were as of that episode. That's what I'm saying. Episode 100 of In The Image Clothing Company Podcast is titled Laying a Foundation. I'm just barely getting started, I'm in this for life. Life changing. It applies to every single body. Wow, literal wording. Check this out. The head, a lot of times people like massage their head, and it feels so good to a lot of people. You've got little muscles across the whole skull, the scalp, right underneath where our hair comes out of, between the skull bone and then the skin on the skull, okay, on the exterior of it. Yeah, those muscles just need all their motion, but the shoulders need to be at their natural height. Quote, the natural scapula position, unquote, a video under the main site of In The Image Clothing Company. There's just a natural, neutral, and normal to everything in the body, as we say. It just is what it is. I know what I'm saying here, dude. I say it like that just because you want to listen to this stuff. It will change your life. I'm just giving free information here. That's all I'm doing right now. No, it's not a sales pitch. I mean, it's discussing that we'll always have good products you could choose to buy. Yeah. But also this information is just here freely. Always given freely. An episode title of In The Image Clothing Company Podcast, okay? God does, and we emulate him. So there you go. Let's talk about this. The skin on the tip of the head, on the top of our head. We have to have our tops fitting us properly. So tops sit where the top seams of our shoulders sit evenly behind the peak of our shoulders. Our shoulders just only ever work behind our head. They just connect back there mechanically. That's where the musculature's insertions are. Muscles just pull the endpoints of their insertions together. That's all they do. The human body only pulls. So the shoulders follow shoulder seams. So that's why the shoulder seams on the top of our shoulders actually sit behind the peak of the shoulders, which is the other end of the collarbone, from the sternum in the center and the front. Okay, that's what I was discussing today in that video under the main site of In The Image Clothing Company titled Oversized Tops and the Collarbone. And then the edges of our tops have seams, and they need to be as close as we can get to the very edge of the shoulder. It's just the joint of the upper arm bone, the collarbone, and the scapula. Okay, the humerus, the clavicle, and the shoulder blade join, mesh, meet, and then we have some things happening there in the shoulder capsule, okay? It's just what it is. And what I'm saying is, if you're just having the whole skin of all of your head be pulled down on just about all the time, you can't scrunch your nose up like this, you can't raise your eyebrows fully, you can't move all the skin and muscles across the scalp and, move your ears in the ways that you can. I don't know how much of moving your ears is like an individualistic thing that some people can and some people can't do, but I don't think so. What I do know is that if you're wearing oversized clothing, you can't really move the skin of your head. That's what I'm saying right now, okay? But you look at animals and they hear something and their ear like moves and turns to it. And you see me, if you do and if you notice it, I do it often. I have, yeah. Oh yeah. When I'm speaking, I'll move my ears and I'll move the skin on my head, not just my eyebrows and not just the little muscles above the eyebrows, but the muscles all the way across the whole skull. I move my whole head. Truly. And I do it often. I mean, it's documented as of, before me saying this right now under the gifted video many, many times. I've been doing it throughout this where I have. I'm doing it as I'm discussing it right now, right? Look at my ears move if you can see them doing it. There's muscles across the whole skull. And if we're pulling down on our shoulders with just oversized tops and Earth's gravity, okay? That's what I mean. There's only one way the human body could ever work. A lot of it's just Earth's gravity. If we're pulling down on our shoulders with oversized tops or clothing of any kind, because this can happen down at the feet with just shoelaces collapsing the arches, or at the hips with waistbands of pants falling lower in the front, and then the body can't just hold itself up normally anyway, The shoulders can't do their job if the feet can't. It starts at the foundation up, but really it can go from the top down as well. The human body's all connected. It's a kinetic machine, it's a chain. Okay. Talk about like the posterior chain of the body, how being behind yourself is an episode title of In The Image Clothing Company Podcast. It kind of feels like we're actually more in the back seat of our own bodies when our bodies are working correct, because our shoulders sit behind our head, right? They connect behind the head. The shoulder blades sit behind the rib cage. We have to have our feet on the ground to be athletic because that's how we grip arches, like I discussed earlier. Okay, that's the only way it'll happen. No opinion. I discuss it so deeply. It just is what it is, okay? You just don't know what you don't know. Your sports coach doesn't either. I mean it. Your physical therapist doesn't either. Even with their 8+ years of schooling, 10+ years of schooling. I don't know how long you want to go to school. If you're learning stuff that's not actually valid, it doesn't matter. And you don't even need to know any more than you just need to know. There's only one way the human body could ever work. Take all of the clothing off of it. Out of modesty, but I'm just saying, if you never wore clothing, your body would never have the opportunity to get altered by something you would call clothing that clothed the human being. I mean, it's just the truth, dude. And I discuss it so deep, there's no opinion. I'm in this for life. This is In The Image Clothing Company's authentic information about just God's design that we have no opinion on. No possible opinion to have. No decision that could ever be made. It is what it is. It's been the same since the very first man, Adam. Really, it's been the same since God, because we're designed in his image, so he had to first look like us to design us like him. Alright? I got no opinion on this, bro. But I also got no question. In The Image Clothing Company is, has been, and always will be huge. It's truth. It will never change. What we discuss here? God? Jesus Christ himself? I mean, there's only one way. There's only one way. I didn't even have like a song idea that I was trying to sing, like that I had sung before. I just started singing, like, which, I mean, I don't know. I was taken back by it. I mean, I do so much freestyling, but it was like, I felt like I was singing something that I knew, but I wasn't. I don't know how to explain that, like how that took me personally off guard. Anyway, let's just continue to speak. This is great. Talk about being silenced as a kid. Emotionally stunted. If you can't even lift your own face and have a smile happen because it's just musculature pulling upward, right? The human body only pulls. If you're smiling and the corners of your mouth are coming up, that means there's insertions of muscles that are pulling from there up to an insertion somewhere above that. And if your tops are pulling your shoulders down, you'll never smile. You'll never have full emotion. You know, there's so much emotion in the face. Again, emotion, energy in motion. It's a physical thing. It's a mechanical machine. The human body, there's only one way it could ever work. When it comes to being a thug, no, but when it comes to being a rapper, I am one. Truly, literally, actually, right? But when it comes to emotion coming through the body of a human being, a lot of it's in the face. Because speaking is how we express often, right? How clothing affects speaking is a video under the main site of In The Image Clothing Company, okay? Clothing, truly the only fix to human beings' physical problems. And the way we discuss what problems we're talking about, you know, mechanical ones, yeah, it's the truth. And nobody knows it like we do. It's not about us, but it's just the case for the sake of we give such deep information. I mean, I don't want to even try to say something prideful. I mean, I'm prideful, but for the sake of like behind In The Image Clothing Company's name, you know, I don't want it to start to be some kind of thing like we know better than everyone else, but it's okay to say in the sake of in the sense of just, you know, for the sake of just yes. I want to say it as real as it is without any claims. Nobody knows it like us. How the body really works, how to really allow the body to work. Not we don't have an approach. It's the truth. And what I mean is because we do it through God. That's what I mean. It's because it's not our choice. It's as real as it gets. All right. We'll never try to tell you to get your body to do anything because that's just false information. That's impossible. Okay? And that comes with a lot of context to understand what I said, but we have a lot of context. Past tense. I mean, we've done it. It's there. It's public. It's posted. It's documented. And then we're just furthering it as we go, right? We have the context already. You know, it is what it is, bro. So here's the thing, okay? If you're just having your body be pulled on all the time, okay, shoelaces, drawstrings, just ropes introduced to the body, oversized clothing, imbalances in clothing in whatever way, and your body's just being altered, you will not be very emotionally attentive. You will not be able to be very expressive. You will not be able to be the full dynamic of the human being that you are. because you will be what we could call emotionally stunted. You go to smile, and your smile gets stunted. You can't fully contract the musculature that's pulling your mouth up, around your cheekbone area and your eye, and even just closing your jaw comes from your shoulder positioning directly, like more directly than directly. I mean, it is your jaw is your shoulder, and that's the case. And your oversized tops are placed directly on your shoulders, and so yeah, I mean, you're just gonna feel emotionally stunted in oversized clothing, with heels on your shoes, with ropes twisting your body, with pant waistlines falling in the front lower than horizontal on Earth's gravity. That's why we keep them, quote, slightly, unquote, higher in the front. If you could keep it exactly horizontal, there you go. It's Earth's gravity. But I just focus on saying slightly higher in the front so that they never drop lower in the front, the waistbands of the pants. That's why I say that. I've said this before, but it's good context to give where I give it, because it wouldn't have to be. If you could keep your pant waistline entirely exactly horizontal on Earth's gravity, then there you go. I mean, that's really the ideal. But then having the intention of trying to make sure it never drops any lower in the front, that comes from just saying slightly higher in the front. Okay? There you go. It is what it is, bro. No claim, no opinion, no belief. It's just the truth of all the things. I told you. I'm a lyricist. Anyway, have fun with it, brother. That's what I mean. We do a lot of in-person events. We just do so much cool stuff under the gift of video. Filming the puppies as they get born will be cute. We advocate for purebred dogs, keeping less dogs in shelters and more dogs at homes through how to be a good owner of dogs, holding leashes naturally, interacting with our dogs as the owner so we don't get altered and so our dogs don't as well. We do a lot, dude. And what I do a lot as of now, and speaking from this point back through the I want to make it as real as it is, because, and I could have just kept saying it like that. But through the most part of 2025 up until right now, which we're in the very end of 2025, we're about halfway through December, which is the last month of the year, I've been going over to the South Utah Valley Animal Shelter once a week, a couple times a week, at least a few times a month, for almost every month throughout 2025. Okay? Hanging out with the dogs, man. Learning about different dogs just through, interacting with them. Just having a good time, too. I just love dogs. Purebred standard poodle specifically, but there's a lot of beautiful dogs out there. There's a lot of really healthy dogs. A lot of what we do is just for the health of dogs. You can love your dog so much, and if it's unhealthy, it dies, and so it doesn't matter how much you, love it. I mean, you can still just, see what I mean? I want to, that needs to be heard correct, because that's the point. That's the point when I say that, the bold things like a mutt is a mutt, and I do mean it, but there's also really great mixed dogs where there are, but it's just about the health of dogs, You can love your dog so much, but if it's unhealthy, it might die much sooner than it otherwise would if we start beforehand and just do the breeding process properly before the puppies ever get born. And then that's how we keep less dogs in shelters, as well as before the puppies are ever born. We're as intentional as we can on, health testing dogs and breeding them properly, registering dogs, doing things correct. Anyway, that's what we do as in the Image Clothing Company Poodles. That's a lot of what we do. That's a lot of what we do, bro. I feel like I gotta make some music or something. I feel like I'm just I think why? I mean, maybe I make some music after this or through this. Maybe I pick up the guitar again for some of this. That might happen for sure, yeah. But also just the speed that I'm speaking. I really am a lyricist. I truly am a rapper, literally, actually. Rhythm and poetry, legitimately. It's not some kind of silly thing, that I say, I'm a rapper. I really actually am. And so when I start speaking fast like this, well, that's a lot of what you do in rhythm and poetry, because you're in the rhythm with the poetry, and it's me when I do the things I do. You see some things. I think that we can play with the 7th fret. The 7th fret. Don't fret. Where are we with this? Because this is weird sounding. Intentionally so. Yeah. Listen. You are listening. That's weird. That's the 7th fret. I don't know. I play guitar, dude. Who cares? Somebody might. So there's your context. Oh, great. In a real way. That's awesome. Okay. So shout out to these new shoes that I got today. Truly. I'm going to say what I did. I returned that bag of Pure Harmony dog food. Not because there's anything wrong with it, but I just don't have a dog yet to feed. Okay. Shout out to Pure Harmony dog food, the brand. But I purchased a bag and I showed it in an episode of In the Image Clothing Company podcast. A chicken and rice recipe dog food bag, 3.5 pounds by the brand Pure Harmony. I did it intentionally because I feel like Pure Harmony, the dog food brand, is doing really good things. And maybe one day In the Image Clothing Company and Pure Harmony, the dog food brand, might work together. And I was just discussing as well, just preparing for things before they come. I don't have any poodles yet, but, yeah. I bought a bag of dog food. But I did return it, okay? Maybe I buy more again. But I just don't need it right now. I don't have a dog to feed it to right now. I don't, okay? It was unopened. It was still brand new. Just returned it. Somebody else can purchase it. I only had it for like 2 or 3 days, maybe 4 days, maybe something like that, give or take. But then I bought these shoes used today, okay? And that's great because these are something that I can use right now. Yeah. And, yeah, okay. Anyway, but there's context. I didn't need to say that other than I wanted to because it's a good thing to explain. I did return the dog food. It's about the principle. It was about the reason I did it. It was about what it was. And also, I didn't know I was going to get these shoes. I didn't know these shoes would be at the thrift store until I got there. And I went there after I returned the dog food. And the money from the dog food fully paid for these shoes. You see what I mean? It's just resources. It's just what it is. It's just life. And right now I don't need the resource of the dog food because I'm vegetarian. I don't even eat chicken. And I don't have a dog to feed it to right now either. And when I do, we'll go from there. Okay. So there you go. What's up? What's up, y'all? What's up, y'all? What's up, y'all? That's what I say at the beginning of the videos a lot of the time. Most all the time. At least around this time. Up until now. So, there's a lot of things that'll really make you feel disassociated, that'll really make you feel emotionally stunted. And a lot of that is eating, though, too. If you're just not eating things that are natural, your body is just, well, out of balance, really. I mean, it was like me on the mental health medication, My body was just out of balance. And I didn't feel good, man. Like, physically, emotionally. I mean, like the nerve endings of my nervous system, of the electrical functioning of my body type not feeling good, It was not good physically, it was bad, really, truly. It was bad. I don't label stuff as bad, but, if some things just truly are bad, it's terrible to damage the body like that. And we just don't know what we don't know. And we don't know a lot of the times as human beings that we have to be very intentional. Just because something's branded as food doesn't mean that your body can even accept it. We have things in modern day that are, again, synthetic, artificial. These words that get used and we get used to them. Unnatural flavoring, synthetic, artificial colorings in food, right? What is that? Well, it's fake. That's what those words mean. They are synonymous with the word fake. It's not real food. Your body cannot benefit from it. So, you just don't know if you don't know. If we're eating things that are unnatural, which is very, very highly probable if you're not being extremely intentional, which that's a big word, extremely. But yeah, truly, in modern day and then going forth, it's only going to get worse. These are the right words to use. Worse and bad. For the things that I was saying there, truly, yes. And not in a bad way, it's prophesied. Getting closer to the second coming of God, this is how the last days are. This is the truth. It's happening before our very eyes. It's just what it is, okay? That's what I mean. We discuss truth here. Go to your grocery store and pick up a package of food, and it probably says unnatural or artificial on a high percentage of the packages that you could choose from to put into your hands and look at with your eyes. Read the wording on it. It's literal. It says fake. It might be a different word that means the exact same thing. Okay, artificial, synthetic. That's what I'm saying, bro. It's the truth of all things. And so, yeah, it's just casually just the truth of all things. His name is Jesus Christ. Really, though, I mean it. It's amazing that you can understand life by knowing one name. The universe has a name, is an episode title of In the Image Clothing Company podcast. His name is Jesus Christ. You can know everything by just knowing who God is. Everything you need to know, at least, right? There's a lot that you don't need to know, and in fact, there's a lot that you need to not know in this life, meaning you would benefit from not knowing a lot of the things that are out there to potentially learn about. Okay? But there you go. I don't know. Maybe we wrap it up. I mean, we might actually, We might. Because that's the whole point. You'll feel emotionally stunted. You just won't feel the fullness of you if there's things that are, diminishing what you fully are. And there's only one way the human body could ever work. So I'm going to leave it right there. Be intentional with your dogs, right? The fullness of your dog needs to be there. And we just discussed that in depth as well. Check out In the Image Clothing Company Poodles, but then we just talk about it where we do. Like here, I'm not really discussing... Well, how do I say that on the proper end? This is not the main side of In the Image Clothing Company. There you go. But I am discussing a lot of the things that we discuss on the main side of In the Image Clothing Company for the sake of what the reason for that side is, allowing the body to work. So we just talk about things where we do because it's just all our 5-word company name, In the Image Clothing Company. We just discuss things where we do on each of the 4 sides, but each of the 4 sides is going to have its distinct thing be the mostly, discussed thing there specifically. Okay, so there you go. Shout out to the dogs. Shouting out people who are doing good things. All right, we'll wrap it up. Okay, it is, though, the 12th of December, 2025. My name is Evan Strong, the founder of In the Image Clothing Company. Okay, so there you go. Thank you.